back-to-back interviews. She's going to join us Sunday at 5:30 on the Sunday edition to give us, in hindsight, what happened at the debate coming up tomorrow night. Debra Medina running for the Republican primary that's coming up very, very soon. We put pressure on them, our great listeners, other people across the state. She's an in the Feder, and she's running against Kay Bailey Hutchinson and, of course, good old Rick Perry. We need her. She's surging in the polls. Deborah, give us a report from inside the campaign. What's happening?
Well, we are doing debate prep today. I got into Dallas this morning, and the team is here. We're working to make sure our numbers and our data are good. I think that was one of the things that I've heard since the debate is, boy, you would answer a question. I'm able to answer those questions because I made the commitment to Texans that I was preparing to be our governor beginning in February when I started this race over a year ago. I'm continuing that work today. We've got lots of opportunity in Texas, lots of places where the bar has been really placed pretty low for excellence in government service. We're looking at raising that bar, making sure we're using the tax dollars that we're taking from moms and dads and business people across the state of Texas. We're using them frugally. We're using them wisely. We're going to use them transparently, and we're going to demand excellence in government service. I am looking forward to an opportunity to share that vision, talk with Texans tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
Well, I told the story of my grandmother. My mom was driving her to physical therapy last week, and she said, who are you going to vote for? And she said, Medina, because I like her straight talk and the fact that you are calling for getting rid of the property tax. You are calling for true freedom in this state. But I got a Twitter message from a listener. It's Oprah's Heart is the Twitter question. To the Real Alex Jones Twitter account. It says, can Debra Medina address the EO forming a Council of Governors and its implication to subverting posse comitatus? Obama signed that executive order. He says he's going to let 10 governors speak for the states. What are you going to do against the federal takeover of the states?
Well, we're going to stand real hard using nullification and interposition. The governor has unilateral authority on interposition. I hope to be able to create a good working relationship with the legislature to get them to nullify where they need to. But I believe that when we have a champion of the people in the governor's office, we will also see an attorney general who is more active in going to federal court and fighting against the overreach of the federal government. You'll see a governor who's instructing state agencies that they are only going to enforce state law. They are not going to be the puppet on the end of the strings of Washington, D.C., dancing whatever tune Washington decides to whistle today. We are going to make sure that Texas is regulating Texas and not Washington, D.C. Those two things happen through the executive branch of the government, and then if we work closely with the legislature, we should see them not just passing sovereignty resolutions that have the equivalent of saying, dirt's wet and the sky's blue, but passing law that has teeth in it to stop this overreach, this illegal federal action. These things are not federal laws. They're unconstitutional. They do not rise to the level of law. They are illegal federal action. They need to be stopped by state legislatures. Texas ought to be leading on that front.
What would your position be? There's open calls from Congress for Geithner to resign for criminal indictments. The Federal Reserve does come into Texas. What they do does affect Texas. We could have a state investigation. Ron Paul has said that could be one of the places against the banks and others would be grand juries. As governor, would you call for investigations of the private banking cartel?
Absolutely.
Now, shifting gears in the time we have with you, obviously you've seen the media make the point, the parallel, that just like Brown took that Democratic seat in Massachusetts, the people of Texas are sick of big government, fake Republicans like Hutchinson and, of course, Perry, and that you surging in the polls, even if you don't win and you have a good chance, people get behind you right now and spread the word, that this is a message to other libertarians, constitutionalists in the Feders, true constitutionalists, that this race has national import, just like the situation in Massachusetts.
It absolutely has national import. Alex, we've got a lot of work to do. This is about more than just, showing up somewhere at a rally. You've got to go vote. And so many people say, oh, yeah, I'm voting, or, oh, yeah, I've voted, when in fact they did not vote. please, please make a list of people that you know that are supporting this campaign, and then go to your courthouse during the early voting period and look to see if those people have voted or not. And if they haven't voted, call them, make sure they get to the poll. We have got to vote. When we vote, we're going to win this race. We're not going to cause a runoff. We are going to win this race on March 2nd.
Perry won the primary before with 500,000 votes. I mean, we've got a couple million Ron Paul supporters and true patriots in Texas.
But they've got to vote. And so many people say, yes, I will, and then it gets right down to the wire, and they do not vote. We've got to vote. We've got to hold one another accountable to
Tell folks Election Day, Deborah.
Vote.
Tell folks Election Day.
Early voting starts February 16th. It runs for 12 straight days, Monday through the following Friday, 2 weeks after, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the next Monday through Friday. Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, early voting is over. Election day is March 2nd from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Please do not wait until March 2nd. Go vote during that early voting period. You can vote at any polling location in your county. Go vote. Make sure your family votes. Make sure your neighbors vote. We'll win this race in Texas.
All right, moving quickly because we've only got about 6-7 minutes left with you, Debra Medina. And we'll have you back Sunday at 5:30 Central for the aftermath of the debate. But obviously, I'm sure you've heard about the old Austin gun show got shut down with no law, and the police just went on the news and said, hey, you can't have private sales, and basically intimidated HEB to shut it down. They've gotten a new center, the Target Center. Perry said that if the feds try to shut that down, it will be harassment. What about the harassment, the racketeering that just happened, the violation of the 10th Amendment? As governor, what would you do when the city of Austin and the BATFE, the ATF, try to shut down legal, lawful gun shows?
I think when you have a governor who sets the tone and reminds us that this is a republic, we follow law, and hold our elected officials and our agencies accountable to following that law, you wouldn't have that kind of thing happening in the first place. This is not a democracy. We don't operate under popular public opinion. We follow the law, and when the law is not followed in Texas, it doesn't matter whether it's the first time. I mean, we shouldn't have to wait for it to be the 500th time that the law was broken, and that's essentially what the governor said. Oh, we'll let them get away with it this time. If they do it again, we'll get after them then. We're going to follow the law, or we're not going to follow the law. Set laws that are just and proper, and then follow those laws. I have, as you know, advocated less restriction on the sale of guns, not more. It's a shame that the governor, who professes to be a Second Amendment guy, doesn't stand up for gun sales in Texas.
Debra Medina running for governor in the Republican primary. Get out there and vote for her. It's coming up in just a few weeks in early voting. I have another Twitter question here that came into the Real Alex Jones Twitter account. Tommy Daniels Jr. asked, question for Debra Medina, what is your position on the campaign for open carry of firearms in Texas?
I think that it's another diversion for us. We should not have to have law. What do we not understand about shall not be infringed? Let's remove the restrictions to gun ownership and gun possession. Make sure that people are able to buy a gun, learn to use it, and keep it with them without regulation by the state, without regulation by the Fed. If someone uses that gun in a way that causes harm to people or property, we have laws on the books to address that, and we should use those laws. But we ought not be infringing on people's right. We cannot take away the God-given, inalienable right to protect my own life. People need to buy guns, learn to use them, keep them with them, shouldn't have to be jumping through hoops, shouldn't have to have special legislation to open carry, shouldn't have to take a CHL class, ought to be able to buy that gun and keep it.
We already have open carry. The police will just arrest you without a law. Just like you can't put a rifle in your gun rack, they'll arrest you. There's no law. They're lawless. One last Twitter question from Jay Long. He asked, would you please ask Deborah what she's going to do about the superhighway plans in Texas if elected?
There won't be the superhighway highway, certainly in the way that it's been proposed, either as the Trans-Texas Corridor, the Port-to-Plains Highway, the North American Super Corridor, by any other name. It is an abuse of private property in Texas. It is a dismantling of our sovereignty as a nation and as a state. It is an allegiance and an alliance with the North American Union and other one world order agendas. It is bad for Texas. We have got to have an audit of TxDOT. We've got to have studies of transportation from independent people, not people aligned with this big transportation machine. We've got to have transparency with the use of tax dollars in Texas.
We're almost out of time. We've only got 2 minutes, Debra, because you've got to go. But I'd just love for you to be our governor. You are so good. You are so right. I mean, it reminds me that TxDOT told the legislature, you can't audit us and see our books with foreign companies in Spain like Centra and Zachary of Australia. But in closing, in the 2 minutes we've got left with you, I've got 2 questions for you.